Hello and welcome to the Curious Club, or should I say, hola y bienvenido. As this episode is coming to you from our Spanish location, you'll understand why in a moment. The Curious Club is a podcast where we discuss everyday wellness. What is everyday wellness? It's wellness practices not told to us by an expert from, say, a study, but rather the attainable and down-to-earth things done by someone like you, someone like me. People sharing what their realistic practice is, the things they actually do to help them feel better. Also, we look into things that stress us out, cause anxiety, or make us upset because it's important to look at the cause as well as the solution. My guest today is Lisa Kercek, an international recruiter, inspirational woman, friend, and mother of two fantastic kids. Lisa and I went to school together before we lost contact and she emigrated to Spain. However, at this point in our lives, we both share an interest in wellness, and this brought us back together. We found each other again and reconnected 2 decades later. Lisa, thank you so much for coming on the show. Welcome to the Curious Club.
No, thank you for having me.
So, if you wouldn't mind, please giving us a little introduction about yourself. Who you are, what you do, your hobbies, some of the things you enjoy.
Yeah, sure. So as Aidan put it very nicely, I'm Lisa. We've been friends for 20 years now? Something like that.
Yeah, when I was writing it, I was like, oh, God.
It makes you feel really old. When's that time gone?
Yeah.
And you said that I live in Spain, which is true. I left the UK over 7 years ago to travel and move to 2 different countries and currently living in Spain. I work as an international recruiter where I help people find jobs all over the world. And I also am a big advocate of health and wellness and getting the word out there and speaking about it as well. I think it's the most important thing. So in my spare time, I have 2 energetic children, which take up a hell of a lot of my time and space. But we just kind of I love being out in nature, love getting outside, play paddle, do a bit of yoga, exercise, just to keep myself sane.
Nice. Awesome. I can relate to pretty much everything.
Without the kids.
Oh yeah, without the kids, yeah. That huge part I can't relate to, but everything else. Okay, so firstly, I just want to ask a very simple question, but I don't know, it's a question that a lot of us don't get asked often enough, perhaps, and that's just, how are you currently doing?
How am I currently doing? That is a deep question, because literally this morning I was thinking to myself, I don't know if I could actually show up to this podcast. I'm feeling so overwhelmed with life that I was like, what am I going to be able to bring? But then I remembered that stepping into the authenticity of myself and also just, how can I say, acknowledging where I am with pure honesty and being like, I am overwhelmed, but I'm still showing up. And I also think that it'd be good to be able to talk about it, to share it so that it makes me feel like I am addressing the situation. Well, it's not necessarily a situation, it's a way of being, right? Yeah, at the minute I've got a lot going on in my personal life and also in my professional life. And, I'm sure that everybody can relate that balance and that dance between the two of how is that, possible to be able to just live and find that happiness and just be, and also the professional thing as well, where you want to succeed and you want to be great at your job and balance everything. So at the moment, I'm great, but I'm constantly living in overwhelmed and I can feel my actions and my nervous system being completely shot at the moment.
Oh, really? What did you do to actually show up? Like, how are you able to actually join me today if you were feeling that way?
Such a simple answer. I just took one step forward and was like, I'm just going to show up. That was basically it. I literally sat with myself and was like, I could make all the excuses in the world not to be here today, but where's that going to get me? Like, I'm still going to be in the same place. And then it's going to be another brick on my wall of overload of like, I didn't show up for that, So the fact of, we've had many conversations in the past and knowing how I feel after our conversations, that just taking that step and just showing up just to be here today has been a big thing for me, because it's like, tick, one thing, to do off my to-do list.
And you get this like nice sense of accomplishment, like you actually did it afterwards as well.
Oh
I always
yeah.
feel that, like, like if I didn't do something, I would feel regret perhaps for the whole
Yeah.
of the day, thinking I could have at least tried.
And the sense of guilt as well, I'm really, one of my things is with myself is that I can let myself down, which is really bad. But for other people, I really can't let other people down, which is really good and really bad on opposite sides of the things, because I need that kind of stimulation of somebody else to be able to encourage me. And then I'll show up a little bit better. So it's like, if I, for the gym, for example, my goodness, I mean, you've been doing a 90-day thing at the minute, and I'm just like, oh my God, how do you even do that? Because I have to have somebody there saying, have you done your exercise today, Lisa? Have you done it? Let's do it together. Because then when I've got that accountability, I can show up and I can do it, and I'm literally on fire afterwards. But for myself, if I was doing this podcast for myself, oh my God, I would have found so many excuses for myself today just to be like, well, it's okay, we can do it tomorrow, or next week when you're feeling better and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Nice. What I'm curious about actually is with you spinning so many plates and having so much to do personally and professionally, between mental health and physical health and emotional health, is the one that you prioritize the most, or is the one that you let slide the most? Maybe
every single one.
Oh, right. Okay. It's going to be a long podcast.
Yeah, how can I say, like, for me, what I've learned over the years, and I don't know if this comes more with maturity or the level of healing that I've been doing, is realizing where I'm at and honoring that. So I still haven't worked out if it's maturity and not just pushing through. There's a lot of mentality in the world at the moment where it's like, just push through, get through it, you'll be fine, sleep when you're dead, that kind of thing, And the whole of my 20s, I lived like that. And I ended up burnt out. I ended up with numerous health conditions where, like, now, for example, if I'm feeling tired, if I know, that it's kind of like my moon cycle, or I know that I'm coming into overwhelm like I am now. Like, I've got so much going on this weekend and I'm traveling for the next 2 months. So there's a lot to organize within this week. So for me now, with the amount of overload that I have, it's taking a step back, and it's kind of like trying to understand what I need to do and how I need to do it. But I said at the start that I didn't prioritize anything. I think it's my mental health and my emotional health that I do prioritize more than my actual physical health. And again, I think that is kind of like a more of a maturity thing where I'm just like, I don't really care anymore, about the things of what I have to do and who I have to show up for. It's more about, hang on, where am I at this moment in time? And how am I feeling? I'm feeling really tired today. Okay, what do I need to do to be able to to be able to honor that and get to that? So it's not sitting up and watching Netflix until 10 o'clock at night. I'm still going about my day as I need to, but I'm just maybe taking things a little bit slower and not doing 26 loads of washing when I can just do one,
Yeah, or just like, I would prefer to do 0 if that was an
Yeah.
option. I'm sure everyone around me wouldn't appreciate that.
Exactly, yeah.
So it seems to me like you have a lot of the same problems that all of us have, except that you seem really good at dealing with them and being aware of them and how you're feeling in the moment. Like, at least that's what I've always got from when we've spoke before. Would you say that's accurate?
It's such an interesting, when you hear it from somebody else's point of view.
Yeah.
I really feel like 9 times out of 10 I'm losing my shit constantly.
Oh, really? Okay. You definitely don't seem that way externally.
Wow, God, that must be my persona that I kind of give off. I think a lot of it kind of like, I don't know, like, I'm a mum of 2, I'm a woman, I'm a professional as well. Like, there's got to be some sort of, I suppose in a way that I do handle things well. But I think that, I overthink everything. This is one of my other things as well. So I think, and being neurodivergent, I've realized that my brain can't prioritize things. So I can't get things in order. So for me, trying to, have everything in front of me and see everything that I have to do, and then my brain trying to put that into perspective that's my overwhelm. So maybe I'm just kind of like going through it like a car in the traffic, just kind of like weaving through and just getting on with it, where internally it feels like a lot for me. So it's really interesting to hear your point of view on, the external of how I kind of come across, but the internal is a mess.
Inside, we're all screaming.
Exactly. But then again, like I speak, and this is why I love and why I reached out to you, like in the first place, a couple of years ago when you started speaking about wellness and, especially in men as well, because what I found is that all of us have this complete overwhelm and all of us feel like we're losing it on a daily basis, where actually, if we spoke about it a little bit more, it'd be a more of a, actually, I'm in the same thing, and we connect more on it to know that it's not just me, because I'm not joking. On a daily basis, I feel like I'm alone in the struggles that I have to fight, especially with the kids as well. I've got 2 kids super close in age. It's hot outside. They're going through different, things where my little boy's got like an injection of testosterone coming in because that's the age that he's at. My little girl's just irritated with everything. And I'm just balancing all these different, emotions on top of my own emotions as well. And then when I speak to my girlfriends that are in similar, positions with kids, they're like, yeah, I've been through exactly that today as well. And I'm like, thank the Lord, it's not just me.
Yeah, I guess that connection, it forms this kind of like understanding and camaraderie, perhaps, that someone else is going through the same things you are. So it's not so strange to be feeling those feelings, or it's not like a weakness, say. It's just normal. It's normal.
Do you think that it's acceptable to kind of talk about your feelings? Because we've had these conversations before, right? And we struggle so much with it because I'm always like told that, you should just talk about the happy stuff. Like you shouldn't talk about the negative stuff. But for me, that's the struggle. Like I can't not, I can't share everything that I'm going through because for me, that's not me and my authenticity. So what's your point of view in sharing your troubles with others, and the problems that you're going through? Is it received well from your experience,
Yeah. It's a good question. I think in some ways I find it quite easy to share. Maybe I'm more of an anomaly like that, especially as a man. But there's 2 sides to it. On one side, you don't necessarily want to share because you don't want to be a burden to someone else. Like, because if even if you need help and even if you're talking to someone else, there's kind of like for lack of a better word, there's like an energy there that can be passed to someone else that can resonate, and maybe you don't want to pass on some of those difficulties that you're facing or those negative emotions onto somebody else, especially if they're going through something too. So there's the side of it where you don't want to, you don't want to burden anybody else with your problems in a way. But on the flip side, I think it's very important to get it out. We were sort of mentioning this on a previous episode. Like if you don't say something, then you stuff it down, and it gets stuffed further down, and then more stuff goes on, and you don't speak about it, and that gets stuffed further down, and it's getting more and more condensed, and eventually, it's going to come out. It's going to explode out, and that could be in a fit of anger or rage or like a mental breakdown, perhaps, or you just suddenly you start crying and you don't know why, and it's probably because of that thing that happened 8 months ago that you never really addressed and spoke about and communicated with anyone. So I think it's important that you don't become a volcano, and the only way to do that is to let it out somehow, and that could be with therapy professionally, it could be with the right people, it could be songwriting or journaling or filmmaking or dancing or anything, I suppose, whatever is your outlet, however you can channel those emotions out and hopefully make sense of them as well as just releasing them. I think it's really important, and actually, especially where we grew up and our generation, like when we were younger, guys couldn't really, you couldn't cry. Like imagine if I cried at school, I would get the mick taken out of me. If those who don't know mick, it's like the piss taken out of you. Like everyone would do it, and what's even more backwards is they would probably be like, "Oh, Aidan, stop being a girl," which is then derogatory to both sexes. So we sort of grew up with this thing like we shouldn't really speak about how we feel, and I just think that's so wrong. And it is changing now, and it's becoming a lot easier to do so. But yeah, I think it's really important to get stuff out. If that was the original question. Sorry, I digress quite a lot.
No, that it is. And I think for me, like, I really find it, how can I say, I don't find it difficult. I'm very expressive. Like, honestly, I can't hide anything. Like, I am literally like an open book and it just pours out. But my difficulty is I live in a different country, right? So when you make your friends, I've got all my girlfriends back in the UK. Bear in mind, it's been like 7 years, so over 7 years since I left the UK now. And that's hard because I don't speak to those people like on a daily, weekly, sometimes monthly basis, right? So they're not in my experiences of what I'm doing day to life. So I've got new friends over here. And yes, I've been here like for 4 years now in Spain. So I have good friendships. But sometimes it's never to that depth that I need, like,
Yeah.
as in like, the girls that I've got some really, really close friends, and I am lucky to be able to, offload on these people as well. But like, at what point? Imagine like when I first moved here, I didn't know anyone. COVID had just started. I had a little boy. I was pregnant. I just lost my dad. For I'd say for 2 years, I didn't have anybody that I could really speak to. Everyone was going through their own things. I'd already left the UK for like 2 or 3 years, so that separation between my close friends back in the UK. And it's kind of like this sense of belonging, like, where do I feel like I belong at the minute? Who are my friends? Who can I open up to trust as well? And somebody to not pass judgment. I think it's really important to be able to find that closeness with somebody. And I have it here, which is great. And she's also going through exactly the same stuff as me. So it's quite nice and relatable. But I also think that there's a lot of us that struggle to find that kind of sense of relationship. So then we don't share it because we can't, because it's either not a safe place to share, or we just don't have the outlet to, because it's not physically there.
Yeah, it's so yeah. Just yeah. It's so important to get it out. And I think like I said earlier, anyone who doesn't have that person or people or paid professional, I don't know, I just don't think it's ever going to end well unless you're really, really good at self-regulation and self-understanding.
You need to have somebody really to guide you on that, really, whether it be a book, a person, a podcast, or something. We're not taught this as children. We're not, taught how to like label our emotions, and it comes, anger, for example, it comes up. And this is one thing that I've really been moving through these past few weeks, is the amount of anger that I've had. And, I'm openly talking to my children about it, because they're like, are you mad with me? And I'm like, no, I'm not mad with you. Mummy's working through something at the moment. I don't know what it is. I'm really trying to understand where this feeling is coming from. Because once you've addressed it, once you've kind of labeled it, even though I said that I hate labels, but it's like a flower where it's growing, you can feel it all building up, and then boom, there's the flower, which is the anger, for example. And then once you've experienced it and dealt with it in a healthy way, then it can kind of pass off and it can die, onto the next emotion. It's like a roller coaster throughout the day, right? And the weeks and the years of these things. So yeah, but this is, my big thing with my children at the moment is trying to, actually I'm laughing because it's like I'm trying to manage my own emotions while trying to teach them about their emotions. The hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Like, I'm reacting to their emotions where they've got no idea what they're going through, and I'm trying to like guide them through that, but reacting to them as well. So it's like, it's push, pull all day. But, if there's one thing that if I left this earth tomorrow, or hopefully not, but, if I can teach my children to acknowledge their emotions and feel what they're feeling, then I think that they could have some, a bit of a better start in life rather than acting out on things.
Yeah. You might find that teaching them about something you're still trying to understand is a really good way to help you understand it better. There's a learning technique called the Feynman technique, and basically that's the premise. If you want to understand something better, teach it to somebody else. So maybe in trying to explain what emotions are and how to deal with them, like you're trying to explain that to your children, you are in fact understanding it better yourself because you're trying to teach it to them and you're having to find ways to explain it to them so that they'll understand it. So maybe it's actually sort of symbiotic in that way. Like it's really good for both of you to understand better by you trying to teach them.
Yeah, that's a great way of, of doing it as well, right? To be able to, because I was having this chat the other day because we were camping at the weekend, we were out in nature, and we were by this beautiful lake, and there was like butterflies everywhere. And I was like, when I'm in these moments of like bliss out in nature, I'm like, oh, I could homeschool my children, I could teach them everything about the world. And then on a day-to-day basis, I'm like, no, I can't. Like this afternoon, I'm like, okay, I need a play day because I can't spend more time. It's just me and the kids. I need that separation. But I was saying, like, how amazing would it be to be able to have like all the resources in the world, financial resources, to be able to live out in the van. We've got a camper van, and be out in nature and just teach our children about the world, the things that they're going to learn about. And Fabio said to me, well, we would be learning too, because we would have to learn to be able to teach them. And I was like, yeah, and it seemed a really attractive idea at the time. And then the tiredness and everything else kicked in. And then I was like, oh my God, get me to a play date, please. Where they can be entertained for a couple of hours and I just can have that normal conversation, with another adult and share my stresses of what I've been going through.
You've touched upon like feeling overwhelmed or feeling stressed. Before we talk about, say, some of your wellness practices, I think it's important to understand those things, the things that do stress you out or give you or cause you overwhelm, or the things that cause you like anxiety. Like, what are some of those things for you?
Just the day-to-day of life, Aidan. Like, literally, that's what it is, like
just everything you have to
I
do.
wake up I think also being like neurodivergent, I have a lot going on in my head. Like it's never quiet.
Can you
ever quiet.
Can you explain what being neurodivergent is, what it means?
To me or just in general?
Just what it is in general.
So I am a person with ADHD where my therapist gave me a really good analogy, and I'm going to share it with you because it might help you understand how my brain works. She said, your brain's like a roundabout in Paris, in France, where it's the busiest roundabout. I can't remember the name of it. And there's a police officer there whistling and bringing all the traffic in. So all the things that you have to do are the cars that are coming in. And when the policeman's awake and he's doing his job properly, which is my brain, the cars seamlessly go through and everyone can turn left and right and it flows, She said, but the majority of the time, your policeman's asleep. Excuse me. So what's happening is the policeman's asleep in the middle of the roundabout and all my cars are just coming in and everyone's beeping the horns and nobody knows what's going on and everyone's pushing through and there's a massive traffic jam. So, everyone's kind of crossing in front of each other. And that's how I feel on a daily basis. Like just the day-to-day things of waking up, making breakfast, having to sort out the kids, walk the dog, get the house, tidy, clean, presentable, this kind of thing, or just livable, not necessarily presentable. Get to work, earn the money, look after the kids, have fun, try and get a workout in, try and get some wellness, in for myself as well. And sleep. Sleep's a massive part of my life as well. So all that brings an anxiety. If I'm not in bed for like 9 o'clock at night, that's where my anxiety lies. Because that, for me, that 9 hours of sleep is my repair, my absolute repair to be able to function the next day. If I don't have that sleep, it literally cannot function. So everything just builds up again.
Okay. So you would say that maybe your biggest cause of stress is just the amount of stuff you have to do each day, like this constant like to-do list of kids and food and feeding them and thinking about yourself and getting dressed and just all the stuff that just is daily life.
Exactly. And for me, there's no balance in it as well. So, one person could be listening to this thinking, why don't you delegate? I do. I really do. I'm really good at delegating. But having to delegate the things that I've got to do is another job on top of it, right? So sometimes it's like, I just may as well as do it myself, because to try and organize myself to be able to be like, right, what can I delegate out here? That's another issue within itself as well. So I do delegate quite well and I'm quite good at project managing things. And I think that's another thing where I could potentially put more more time and effort into, or just get it done myself so I don't have to delegate, so much.
Do you find it easy to delegate? You said you do it quite well, but do you actually find it easy? Or would you rather just do the thing yourself right? If you get what I mean.
No, in human design, I'm a projector, so I'm a good project manager.
Okay.
Really good at it. But then it's like, but then I have this other issue of having to repeat myself. I'm like, if I've said it once, just get on with it. But when you've got kids, it's like, for the 50th time, please can you just pick up that sock, for example, trying to teach them responsibility as well. So I don't want to bring up children that are completely entitled, and like have everything done for them. But sometimes it's just easier just to do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, so I guess outside of sleep, which you said is a big restorative section of your life, is there anything that you do wellness-wise to help with all the stuff you've got going on and to help mitigate that stress?
Sure. Breathing is a massive thing as well, just connecting back to breath. That, living with anxiety, so to speak. I used to have a lot of anxiety in my life, and I've seen a lot of kind of like breathing coaches and learned a lot about it. And but it's having that self-awareness of catching myself in the moment of, I can feel my anxiety building now. Okay, now I need to start breathing, So when I'm putting the kids to bed at night time, that's where I factor in my breathing. So, hand on chest, on my stomach, and I literally feel my breath. And that seems to like calm everything down. And now during the day, when I'm getting to that point, like my jaw gets tight, my shoulders lift up, I can feel the tenseness, in my body. That's my indication to be like, okay, Lisa, you need to like sit back and breathe a little bit as well. So breathing. And also a gratitude practice as well. I know this is so cliche, and I know that people talk about, I should be grateful. And I remember when I first started it, like, I was like, I'm really struggling to be grateful for anything right now. But with time, like, I used to write down 3 things I was grateful for every day, and like it could have been for the lemon in my water, that morning, because I really struggled to be grateful, and it was a really big reflectiveness on myself. But now I'm kind of like, I wouldn't say like I have a sit down practice of it, but I'm like, if I can just like get a coffee and sit in the garden and feel the sun on my face and just appreciate that moment, that's my practice,
Yeah, that's nice. That's lovely.
Because it brings me back to why I'm actually here and what I actually want from my life. And that is peace, joy, and happiness. Like, at some point in my 20s, it would have been money and partying. But now, like, I literally want that peace and happiness. I want to live. Like, I literally want to live, and I want to experience every little joyful moment that I can, because I know that these moments will pass as well, that I'm going through the complete overwhelm that I'm in. Yeah. You speak to any family with small children, I'm sure that everyone's feeling exactly the same. And then there'll be a point where, they don't need us anymore, and I'm bored, and I'm like, my God, like, you wanted to be out of that moment all the time, and now look at you want it back. So trying to appreciate those little moments of things.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, actually, I want to touch on gratitude, but just before that, you were talking about breathing, and there's a breathing exercise that I do, especially when I'm stressed or anxious. I think I learned it from Dr. Huberman. It's called the physiological sigh. Have you heard of it?
It's the...
Yes.
Is it the double intake?
Yeah. So for those who are watching or listening who don't know, you breathe in through your nose to about 90%, and then you breathe in the final 10%, and then you exhale, and you do that 4 or 5 times or something. So literally, as Lisa just did, it's like that, and then out. And there's something to do with that triggered like stop and start response. Yeah, that seems to help, especially for like if I go flying, because I'm afraid of flying. If there's like turbulence, I'll do that. My
big thing is belly breathing. If you look at a child from 0 to like 7 or 0 to 6, they all look like they've all got like an extended belly. Is that how you say it? The stomach's like sticking outwards. It's because the belly breathing, and something psychologically changed within our minds. Then we go to chest breathing up to 7 years old. Now I'm literally sat here, and this might just come from growing up in the 90s, and like, there's so much kind of body shaming going on in the 90s about how you've constantly got to like walk around and suck in. But I'm constantly sucking in my stomach. And actually, like when I'm at my most anxious, I'm tensed in my stomach as well. So when I go down into the belly breathing, I mean, I can feel like when I just let go, it's like I'm letting go of so much stress that I'm literally like holding onto within my stomach as well. So the technique that you were also talking about is fantastic, but the belly breathing, where you breathe in through your stomach and then the last part is your chest and then exhale through your chest and then down through your stomach. Like if you did 10 of those per day, like you would notice a difference with it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that one. That's it's so good because I do that when I do like Wim Hof breathing. The belly goes out first and then the chest kind of follows, but only a little bit because you're really pulling that diaphragm down so much and you feel like you can get so much more in. Air, that is.
Well, if you think about our lungs, right, you've got your lungs with just chest breathing, you only get down to max 2/3 of it. And then that third is like polluted oxygen, you know, so much carbon monoxide and things. So, you know, like to actually pull that last third up and get that air flowing properly, you know, it doesn't just have a lot of effects on your anxiety, but also your health as well, because you've got stagnant air just sitting at the bottom of your lungs. So, you know, really doing can't say that word, diaphragmic. Is that how you say
I'm gonna
it?
say yeah.
Okay. Diaphragmic breathing to help your belly, you know, bring everything up. It really helps clean your lungs
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely. It's just so feels restorative as well. Like especially if you're meditating, you're doing any sort of form of meditation and you're doing these beautiful deep breaths, and it feels great afterwards. You feel clearer, you feel healthier, lighter.
Less
Yeah,
stressed.
absolutely. Especially if you sort of visualize like you're breathing it out. Like some people visualize it as like dark smoke or dark essence or something in there, like and it's yeah, it's just great. And it's so simple and it's free and you can do it anywhere.
Exactly. You know, you don't need a therapist to be able to do that. And there's so many like resources on like YouTube and, you know, even like there's on Instagram, there's so many people doing free, you know, breathing like recordings that they can send to you things. So, you know, there's resources out there to be able to do it for sure.
Touching on the gratitude exercise you were talking about. So I recently did a similar thing on socials. Like I just filmed a quick snap of something that day that made me smile. And it was great. I did 100 days. And actually right now, my next long form video on YouTube is looking back at this 100 days and what have I learned from it. One of possibly the best things about it is that even if you're having a bad day and you still force yourself to find something good in that day, it can turn the day around. Just by looking, just by seeking out the good thing. And the good thing could be fresh bed sheets or a perfect avocado or a great coffee or a hug from a friend or your kids not being brats. But no, seriously, like it can be the smallest thing, the seemingly insignificant thing, but it can, by finding it, the positive and the negative, it can change the whole day. It can change your whole outlook from that point onwards, and that's really powerful, I think.
No, I agree. And I also think that, you know, when I set my gratitude journey or, you know, practice, I really thought that I had to have these grand, massive gestures, you know, on a daily thing, like really had to be grateful for life. But honestly, like I was feeling like pretty shit, you know, like I'd been through so much in that year that I was like, you know, I can't have that appreciation at the moment because I don't feel it. Like it felt so long, so far away from me. So it was like, okay, let's just pull it back and like what's in front of me now. Like my dog just came over and licked me as she walked past. Like she was showing me, you know, like a kiss, for example. Like that was like, that's where it kind of started and like it built on there. And honestly, like it really changed the way that I approach things, you know, in a day. Like I'd catch myself like with this internal dialogue of like, life is shit. I'm really struggling here. You know, how am I going to cope? And da, 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 da. And then boom, I caught it. And I was like, actually, life isn't so bad, you know. My dog loves me. Somebody in the world does.
So I'm wondering, like, is there any wellness therapy that you can't do that you wish you could do, or something that you've tried that just it's not for you, but you wish it was?
Meditation.
Okay.
Oh my God. Meditation, you see these people just sat there in absolute utter states of bliss. And I envy those people of like, how do you keep your mind so quiet for that amount of time?
Do you think it's because of your because of the neurodivergence that you struggle with meditation, or is something else?
I couldn't say if it was or it wasn't. Like inside my brain, there's like a lot of chatter going on a daily basis. And I know that for some people that might be quite hard to understand because some people don't have that internal dialogue. Do you have an internal dialogue? Or do you think in pictures? Like, how do you think?
I like hear a voice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But there's some people out there that don't hear a
Which is
voice.
mad.
Like, they think
That's so strange.
exactly. But for us, it's hard to understand. But for them, like, they can't understand us having this internal dialogue as well. So hearing this voice constantly. So, yeah, I mean, the more that I'm learning about ADHD and neurodivergency, the more that I'm like, maybe it could be because of that, Like, there's points, where I really do just sit down and just like close my eyes and like really try and meditate. But I don't know if that's what I want as well. Like, do I want to be this like meditative yogi and this kind of thing? I'd like to be able to master at least sitting down for 20 minutes and just being able to meditate. But there's so many different ways of meditating, right? Now I do things like walking in nature, or I do things like cleaning.
Could be meditation too, yeah.
Cleaning as well for me. Yeah, and it's really, for me, cleaning is really powerful. I hate it, but like my wardrobes, for example, cleaning through my wardrobes and getting rid of my clothes for me creates space and gets rid of that stagnant energy. And that for me is a meditative practice, that I like to do. Making my bed in the morning is actually a meditative practice for me because it means that, I'm clearing out from the night before and preparing for the new thing. So yeah, that meditation would be sitting down and being quiet and shutting off my mind would be really nice. Really, really nice. Even in my sleep, I'm still a sleep talker and thinker and dreamer. So it doesn't ever shut off.
Well, I asked you what you like wish you could do, what you can't do, and you said meditation, but it sounds like you are meditating, you're just doing it in your own way.
True. Exactly. True. Yeah. Is there anything else that I would like to do? I'd like to have more time to be able to practice these things. So I'd like to be able to do a workout every single day. I'd like to be able, to ground myself in the morning and prepare myself. I always think if I was single and didn't have any children, what would my life look like? I'd be probably so bored. I wouldn't know what to do with it. But just having that time and that space, to be able to create a little practice in the morning. But I know that it'll come.
What's the positive effect on your wellness that your children provide you? I'm curious as somebody who's not a parent yet.
They bring play, they bring fun, they bring laughter, like this morning, for example, I'd made the bed, did my meditation for the day, and like they've literally like turned it upside down and they're like rolling in the covers. They were belly laughing. Like that's so contagious, like I laughed with them. And it was nothing. It was so like they were just rolling around in the covers, but they found it so funny. And that for me helps me remember where I came from, remember that playful little Lisa that's inside, because most of the things that's in my head on a daily basis is the adult things, the boring things, the providing food, the house, working. But having kids for me, I get to experience life as life should be, through play, through joy.
Oh, that's good. That's awesome. They almost like help you reconnect with your sense of wonder and curiosity that maybe is dulled a little bit from becoming an adult.
And like at the weekend, I was saying that I was at this lake and we were walking by and there was these massive dandelions. When they go into like the fluffy balls? But these ones,
yeah.
Yes, but they were huge, like fist size huge, and just picking those and blowing them, like, it's nostalgic. It takes me back to being a kid and doing those things and seeing the happiness and then, teaching them about how they were, spreading the seeds so that they could, implant somewhere else and like helping nature and like the little faces that they were contributing. So that was just, it's really beautiful. there's a lot to moan about having kids, a lot to moan about it, but there's also some really beautiful things as well.
Oh, that's really good. That fills me with a sense of excitement for the future one day. So, considering what I know about you and your grasp on mental health, even if you have your own challenges with it, you still have a good understanding of it. If a friend came to you and was dealing with something negative, something difficult, and asked your advice, what would you say? What advice would you give if they were trying to deal with something?
I think for me, how I would deal with it is I would just create a safe space for them to talk about it. We all have the answers within. We just need somebody to guide us through and to help us remove the blocks, because aside from my international recruiting, I also do some coaching as well, as you know, some spiritual coaching. And I've got a really good intuition of I can see things that most people can't, and I can see the issues that the people are experiencing. But what's the use of me saying, well, this is what you're experiencing now? So I don't know if that's through psychic abilities. I'm still trying to kind of work that out. But what's the point in me saying to you, Aidan, this is your issue? Because you can't see it. That you've got to work that out for yourself. So if a friend was coming to me with an issue, I would, create a safe space for them to talk. And then I would just kind of ask them questions, but truthful questions as well. If a friend came to me, having issues with a husband, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, he's an idiot and this. I'd be like, well, how are you showing up in this? What's your involvement in this? To try and get them to see things from a different perspective. Because what I experience could be completely different to what you experience. So if you're going through issues with your partner, and I'd be like, just leave them. It's not as easy as that. Maybe I have the confidence to be able to do that. Maybe you don't, or the vice versa. So we've all got the answers within, but I think just given somebody that safe space just to be able to be heard and to be seen, because just being heard and seen is so powerful. You talked about loneliness, you've talked about having that community and just feeling like there's somebody there to be able to speak to. And this ties us back into what we were talking about at the start, right? Having somebody to be able to go and talk to, I think for me that's really important. So I always want to give that back to somebody else as well.
Nice. That's good. So it wouldn't be like, I like that. It wouldn't be like, hey, you should do this. It's rather communicating and speaking to them in the right way so they can come to the answer themselves, hopefully.
Nice. Sure. I mean, there's times where I go to my friends and I want the answers. I hate being told what to do. Absolutely hate being told what to do. And I know that if someone said to me, you need to do this, there'd be resistance on it as well. And who am I to tell somebody else what to do? I'm also a really big choice activist. If you've done all the research and it's your decision, then I support you on that, whether I believe in it or not, but it's your decision. Say to my kids every night, if you don't want to brush your teeth, then it's your choice if your teeth fall out, but you made that choice, not me. The option's there.
Yeah, that's when you show them a picture of a root canal or something, and they're like 20 years and they'll be telling that to their therapist. But their teeth will be perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Lisa, we are coming to the end. It's amazing, actually, from starting up this podcast, how fast these episodes are going, because I think you start the conversation and you wonder where it's going to go, but then you check the time and it's already been an hour. And I find that there's something really magical about the way that time flows like that when you're discussing something with someone. And we've had a great discussion here. And well, first off, if it wasn't clear from the podcast for everyone listening, obviously, Lisa, you're very busy, so thank you so much for your time and your support by coming on in season 1 when it's not an established podcast yet, but you've very kindly and graciously decided to come on board. So that's awesome. I can't thank you enough for that. And a general thanks for what you said, and I'm sure it's going to help people. It's helped me, and yeah, I'm really, really happy that you decided to come on board. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And a huge thank you to you two for listening or watching and joining us for this fantastic conversation. Just a little update. Season 1 is going smoothly, and I'm so happy you're also here giving your time and attention to help this podcast grow and reach more like-minded people like you and I. I hope you have a lovely day or night, wherever you are. Don't forget to stay curious. And thank you again for your amazing support, and I'll see you on the next one. Ciao for now.